No, that one's mine. I just need the page before it. Thank you. I just had the whole group, so I wouldn't lose my pages. Thank you. Nope, I just needed the signature page,
Oh, I
but
see, you need this.
yeah. I need that one back. Thank you. Brilliant. Paperclip down there, thank you. Keep myself organized. And I want to turn the chime off, that might continue happening during it. The function.
All right, I have 6 o'clock, so I will call the meeting to order. Work session, I will dispense with the pledge of allegiance unless there's an objection. Moving on, we can approve this evening's agenda.
Move to approve this evening's agenda. Second that.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Straight to old business we go. ER report.
Some comments at all?
That's what we're gonna discuss tonight, because I haven't gotten anything sent to me, so
No,
we're
I've
going
read
to
it,
discuss it.
But I didn't find anything.
But
that was-
discuss it in person.
And this is a working draft, you know, I noted right away that we gotta get some more data, cause a lot of the pumping data and stuff is through 22, so we gotta make sure we get current. Accounts and pumping volumes and stuff like that, so we'll have to get that updated.
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that the new construction route, I think is the only way to go, at least for the sewer. Was, I think you mentioned the lining is not gonna be feasible.
No.
Due to the misaligned joints, and when you say service lines are intruding, I assume that means the service line has been stubbed too far into the pipe.
Well, that's probably me, like a root had went right through a service line or something. Probably some like protruding incident like that.
Yeah, it's sounded like when they put the service line into the sewer, they maybe stubbed it into the pipe, maybe hanging down or something.
You know, there could be some of that too, you know.
But it's not salvageable. Clay pipe is. I have clay tile from my house to the street. Wilson Plumbing and I are on both on speed dial. So not salvageable.
No.
I had a question on page 46. There's a sentence at the below that says the city has no current debt on their water and wastewater systems. Is that correct? I thought we still had a bond we were paying off for the 2003 water tower construction, or am I wrong on that?
Yes, we have debt on the water tower, and then the only sewer debt we have is, I mean, it should be, there's one assessment on 4th Street Northeast that should be done after this year. And then there's also one on the 2016 project that was Summit in Maine, and those assessments are still being collected to pay off PFA debt and small cities debt for the sewer. The sewer is going to be paid off, I think, in 25. Those are also funded by assessments, little bit of levy on the sewer side, but all assessments on.
So that was 2 projects outside the tower. That'll be paid off this year.
Yeah.
But the water tower goes on for a while.
The water tower will go on for a while. I think it's through 36 or 46, one of those decades.
I don't think we can make that statement then, can we?
No, I think that's why it's highlighted.
Yeah.
Come back to it. I think Our intent was to get, right before we submit to get.
Yeah.
Get all those schedules updated.
I think that's a reminder for me, highlighting.
Yeah.
updating y'all.
Good, good. No, drew my attention to it, otherwise, I mean, it's 48 pages, I probably.
Yes, I guess from our perspective, I thought probably the best thing to do would be focus on, we can go through the history and where things are with Christina and Mike. But it's probably at the council level here, go through what the recommendations are for the proposed improvements. Did anyone have anything that they'd like to talk about, or are you in agreement? Because the water main, the big issue there is either it's past its useful life or it's too small for 10 states only for fire flow. So I think that's pretty cut and dry. I think the cemetery is pretty cut and dry.
No.
The water treatment, I don't think that's pretty cut and dry too. We've got a proprietary system that's probably met its useful life as well. We struggle with flows from well number 5 because we can't adjust rates at the treatment side of it. So, I think the one thing I want to evaluate is whether or not we rehab well 5 or we look at doing. So that's probably one thing I'd like to maybe think about a little bit more.
Well, I think all the clay pipe sewer definitely has to be replaced. Water lines, and if they're cast iron, it's probably, I don't know if they're coated, this doesn't cast iron rust.
Well, but there's still a service life to, or useful service life to cast iron, but the problem is many of the cast iron pipe are too small.
No,
They're substandard size. I think majority of those are 2 inch, I think,
There's a lot of 4-inch.
4 inch, even then, 6 inches a minimum for fire suppression. So.
at the time they were installed, I'm sure.
So yeah, there's so much better material now that
No.
to use to even, consider.
If you got the backhoe out, let's do
The stuff's gotta go.
Mhm. So were there any inaccuracies or anything?
That's what I was, that was my big thing, is like,
Yeah.
where you've already seen one on the map. But there was a couple, but I didn't notice anything other than that. And the ones that were noted that when it was first brought out.
And we'll coordinate with Mike and Christina on updating the tables with values, and we'll have to incorporate the clerk service line stuff in here, so.
So it'll be a new draft.
So
Well, there'll be more final version.
I have a question. I was reading about this water treatment plant. I just kind of got into reading about it, and I'm just kind of like, it's not filtering properly, or what? Is that what I'm reading? I mean, my water's good.
Well, the water quality is good, but it's more of an operational standpoint of a lot of it.
Everything in there is old and antiquated, and up until what, 6-8 months ago, when I finally found somebody that could plug in and work on things in there, nobody around is doing it anymore. The couple of plants that were running that Filtronics system, everybody's doing the same thing, trying to get away from it, because the company is, to me, in my opinion, from talking to the representative out there, seems to be a one-man show anymore, and it's that there's virtually zero support for it. The plant itself is also, what, 20-some years old now. It is operating properly right now. Between us up here, there's a lot of Band-Aids in that plant, keeping things going, and that's all the more we can do all the time. So everything in there does need to be replaced, essentially.
Well, there's,
That's what I was kind of wondering, because I didn't get into it. I didn't see that in here.
yeah, and I got a lot of notes in here to try to provide a little more clarity on for the rationale for, the existing conditions, and because like the water treatment plant, there's a lot of things with that, like Mike said, I think that system, it's proprietary, I think it's at its useful life. And, you know, each chemical is supposed to have its own room, so we don't have that, so there's a lot of things that are not compliant in there. And, you know, and looking at the building too, we noted there's cracks in the block, and so there's some shoring up that has to be done on the building itself, so, you know, there's a definite need to meet standards and things like that to do the water plant.
So you've been around this a little bit, so with the new style stuff and all the new fangled stuff out there, is it a smaller converted down system usually compared to these big, I mean, when you look at the pictures out here, I mean, these tanks are huge. I mean, so, I mean,
You gotta come into our water plant.
I'd like to see that.
Those tanks that are in there, in fact, I would say that our treatment system, our building, in and of itself, even just the building, is one of the smallest I've ever seen.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you're not gonna downsize, cause what you're.
Yeah, I don't
gonna
see
see-
how you could get any smaller than what.
No,
we're
you're
running.
gonna see, in addition to have the chemical rooms be separate from the building with an addition. And, I don't know if we've looked at room, but you know, even that existing building is probably gonna be tight.
Well, that building doesn't look that big, and then you show these pictures of these tanks,
Those tanks look bigger than they are. They're only
that's
like this.
what I'm saying, to me, it doesn't look like everything would fit in that building. But that's why I was wondering if it,
It's tight.
It's, I mean, it's tight in there.
It's
Yeah,
tight in there.
there's, you're not doing cartwheels in there.
Yeah, you could almost fit it all in that footprint that you're
Yeah,
setting in
it's-
back there for pages area.
It's pretty small. Those pictures probably make the tanks look larger just because they're close up, but
Yeah.
the tanks aren't very big.
That really big tank is it a backwash or a reclaim?
It's for the reclaim
Yeah.
system that actually we don't
Doesn't
use
work.
here. We don't
Yeah.
run the reclaim system, and that's right from the state telling us, don't even bother with that.
oh, that big white one.
Yeah.
Yes, one thing we've actually talked about doing with that is moving it outside and burying it.
Mhm.
We've done that several plants that are like reclaim tank is actually underneath the floor.
Mhm.
It's so big and volume wise, it takes up so much space inside, so get that out of there and then all of a sudden we got a whole bunch of room. to play with.
And that reclaim tank, what that is it's the water from when you backwash the filters. So when we backwash the filters, what we're doing is we're basically bringing water back from the tower, pushing it backwards through the filters to push all the sediment out. It goes into a tank, then the sediment drops in there, the clean water is on top, and then we can run that back into the system. However, our plant doesn't work, so we don't do that. Our water, when we backwash, you know, each filter is running 300 gallons a minute on a backwash, and we backwash from 3 to 4 minutes apiece. So you're looking 12 and 2 filters, 2,400 gallons a day that we just put right into the ditch. It's gone. Because the system doesn't work.
Oh, yeah. Costing us a lot of money.
Yep.
Okay, I was just questions I had after reading this and.
I would like to know though, just briefly,
Just briefly,
because of, you know,
recent, yeah. I figured.
recent Facebook stuff. The only way your water is going to be fantastic is if we soften. We don't soften here.
I know,
Softening is, you know, not a requirement of the state. It's, you know, hard water does not hurt you health wise.
I drank it.
You know, and I went to school for all this stuff, water, wastewater, you know. Taste and odor are basically just a, you know,
It's a cosmetic
Aesthetic.
thing.
an aesthetic, exactly, perfect word, right there. You know, yeah, it is what it is. Our water's definitely not mud, you know, I know that.
I filter it,
But-
but I drink it.
The issue is, you know, if the city wants to go that route, you know, it's a possibility. There's a reason that we don't have it right now.
There's a cost.
It's expensive.
Or the complaints you get from dead end lines or no?
It's kind of been all
It's
over the
all over.
place.
It's, yeah, it's,
You know, I'm the last one on my line and
right.
I got good water. I think, you know, I change my filter every,
But it
4 or
makes a
5 months.
difference, and that's part of this is the looping too, because then with looping, you get exchange of water on a dead end line. It takes a lot to get that water through that pipe if you don't have a lot of users, so then stagnant and a little more buildup. That's why you guys probably flush more on your dead end supply.
Yep. Well, and you know, with water quality too. You know, I've been in homes where people didn't have a clue that they had a screen in their kitchen faucet, right? That was just packed,
That little
Oh,
bottom part,
you know, that makes a
Full of
difference.
stuff, yeah.
Mhm.
You got the rod in your water heater, you know, oh, my hot water smells, it's your
Change your
stuff.
diode.
No, pull the rod out of your water
Pull your
heater,
rod
that
out.
shit don't smell no more.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different things that people can do on their end, but. You know, when you're dealing with mass public, the general rule of thumb for everyone is. Well, it's not my problem, somebody else.
Well, they can get their own softener, they get their own filters.
Yeah, been through it all.
And on that note, your office is available to reach.
Yep. Yep,
And,
Monday through Friday, put my number out there many times
and I've
and
seen it,
haven't heard anything, so.
I've seen
Okay.
it, your clear glass of water in the window.
Yep,
Okay, people can also call City Hall to get your number.
correct.
And they do, and we give it to them.
So,
Calls don't always make it.
You know how it is though, once one person says something negative on Facebook, you got 40 people right behind them saying it right behind them.
It's the
And on
social
that-
media trend.
and on that, I would just like to state too, that the city doesn't handle business on social media.
Precisely.
We handle business here at City Hall and at city council meetings.
Mhm.
So if anyone has something, a concern, they are more than welcome to come on in.
Or calls that.
Yep,
That's all we're gonna worry about that part.
perfect.
Other than that, how's the draft, guys?
The draft looks, the draft to me looked fine, other than what we had discussed that email, that. Where I think was you that pointed out the inaccuracy in one of the maps.
Yeah, and I always get my roads mixed up too, so I'm not 100% perfect. My north and my south are goofy, but yeah.
As a lifelong resident here, I still go by whose house it used to be. I don't know what street number or name you're talking about.
Turn my phone close.
Yeah, exactly.
This depends on what vintage you're from, though, of course.
Very true.
If I speak to anyone over 85, I tell them I live in Jimmy Johnson's house. They know immediately where I am.
Anyway, any other, you guys have anything else on the draft? No draft?
It's good. I think we should move forward. I wouldn't spend any more time on the retrofit, options, because I think it's got to be replaced.
Well, then we'll work on preparing the environmental report and work on getting this out of draft into final format. And so that'll take us a little while. So I'll visit with our environmental, but this is perfect time because this is their normal time of year, so it's a perfect time to start working on the environment.
Well, if they go to this one.
I hope it's not bigger than that. I don't think it'll be bigger than that one.
That's double-sided, I don't have a staple big enough to stick in that one, and it had to go in a binder.
Thank goodness we don't get paid by the pound.
It's okay, I just wanted a hard copy, so I had to print it because it's easier sometimes.
And if there's nothing else on the DER draft, then move on to the library.
So I don't have a lot to report to the council at this time. I've been doing my best to get in touch with Tony Gustafson since the holidays and deer season. He's been trying to chase his subs down. Week before last, he was still waiting to get his plumber's numbers. Each time I ask him, more time goes by, so maybe I'll have something for you guys on the 10th of February. At this time, I don't have any numbers on the library yet.
Any other thoughts on the library? We'll move on to the duck restoration.
I don't have any stuff on that either, because of the meeting.
Okay, and that's fine. It's been discussed at a couple chamber meetings and other, and I've talked with a couple of other people, like from the Lions. And, you know, they would be interested in donating. There's another person, another party that would also probably be interested in donating to the funding, but the, I think with the city, you know, and is this just that one duck? Is this the only one we're discussing at this
Yeah,
point?
yeah, I think
We're not-
I think we settled on, where we were with the old duck, except for making,
That's an agreement between the city, the fire department, and
yes. Yes, but, or yes, and we want to also make, a cover for it.
right,
Scott Peterson from the BDC reached out to Jeremy Berg's trades class, and they were interested in building us a gazebo of some size shape. I just need to get in touch with Berg and
so when we have, yeah, because I think that's what everybody's kind of waiting for is how much. Is
Well,
that number?
yeah, and until I find, you know, somebody that can do that type of repair, ask Tony if he's knows anybody, that's where we left it off before the holidays. Or we find a similar or different plan to attack how to pull the statue off and fix the bottom, and then find somebody to restore the surface of the duck statue itself. That's where we're sitting, I think.
The funding we have would be contributed toward the gazebo covering for the old duck as well, right?
That is correct,
Yeah,
because
at
that
least the materials, and
Yeah.
if the building trades
would be in kind,
does it, there's no.
yeah. Correct. That's how I see it.
What-
And I'm not gonna lie, it hasn't really been on my radar the last 3 weeks, so,
I know, it's audit time, it's a whole bunch of other stuff.
well, and new projects and things for spring are just starting to surface with everybody in the areas. People are starting to think about, you know, buildings and everything, like building and construction, so it will definitely get shaken up in the next few days.
Are you done with all that stuff? Or is that just starting?
Particularly my audit or the duck.
Well, just wondering time wise, are you booked for the next 3 weeks or a month, or you got some time?
I'll find it. Yeah, not going anywhere.
There's nothing else on the duck, there's nothing else on the duck. City Hall.
So at the end of December, first part of January, Beltrami Electric Cooperative submitted their application to USDA. That's what I've provided to you guys for to review. Right now, it's just with those people at the Fed to figure out if it's gonna get approved in Q1 or not, or if it's gonna move to Q2 of 2025, but it'll continue to move forward throughout the quarters of 25 until it either expires the year or it gets approved. So that's a waiting game. The environmental site assessment was completed. I provided that to you for review. Thank you to Woodseth for getting that done. And that was also submitted to Beltrami Electric Cooperative and USDA, so that checked that box for that application. A lot of, I mean, I don't know if anybody had an opportunity to look through those 400 pages, but there's a lot of repeated,
405 pages.
yeah, repeated informations, and mainly it's, you know, if they find a site that was deemed either hazardous or a location that's within X amount of feet within the area city hall, it was labeled. There was also labeled for everybody that owned the site too. That was my takeaway from some of this, but basically it was to prove that, you know, this building has been here for as long as it has, and there hasn't been any change to the footprint of it or the surrounding areas around it.
And the prior building was the bank as well,
Correct,
like 1900 or 1910,
yeah.
so.
I think they got back to 1941 in here, I think.
49, yeah.
49, yeah. thank
This
you.
building, if I recall the article in the American, was opened about 1956, 57. But a building exactly the same size as before, it just looked a lot nicer.
Yeah,
Did you get the exhibits you needed?
yeah, everything came out.
No, like the FEMA map and the other.
I have not heard from Bob on that. Those two GIS items that they needed, he has not commented back, but I'll have to follow up with them. Thank you for that reminder. On those maps. I think they're working on it. He didn't ask me to do any more since you posed that question, Tim, so I'll double check with him.
You maybe didn't want 405 pages again for the exhibit.
It took Tim and I a couple of tries to get it even downloaded right. There was about half of it that wasn't even
That was weird.
getting transmitted through the internet.
You know, it's monotonous, read this and
And then you read it again. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. I'll follow up with Greg.
Mhm.
Thank you.
Our sales tax,
I've included in your packet the general notice that is required by state to be done 60 days prior to the tax taking effect. I sent this to all of the businesses we had listed in our utility billing and a couple extra that aren't receiving water sewer services that are within the boundaries of the city. Kyle from Pinnacle is almost done putting this on our website. I just have to have it all done by January 30th. The nice thing is that I started editing the draft, sent it to, I think it's Janice from the state, a partner that, yeah, Jan, that reached out to me and they formulated it for me, so it was great. I didn't have to do a ton more legwork. So everybody's been notified by mail at this point. The only other compliance thing besides the internet I need to do going forward until it sunsets is once a year I have to provide it on, I have to provide notice on like a utility service card to all of our commercial accounts.
any other questions on that?
Oh, there was only like 40 envelopes sent out, so I know that was a question of, are we gonna eat that or not? I sent it out, the state's gonna send it out, and it's on the internet, on the Department of Revenue, and it's gonna be on our website, so I think we've covered all our bases, but it wasn't a ton of postage.
I didn't think it would be.
Well. Yeah, it only needed to go to the businesses that are paying it. Doesn't have to go to all of our residents. So it wasn't a ton.
Fire trucks.
Okay, so the the GEO bond, closed on the 23rd, which was last Thursday. The money was put into the city's accounts and it went out the very next day and paid the remaining balance to, McQueen. So I've included that remit, supplied in paid in full. There has been a new, debt service fund that's set up for this. There's going to be, I think it's like $14,000 left out of the proceeds to this certificate that's gonna move into the debt service to pay the interest. The first interest payment in 2026 in February. But as far as Patrick is concerned from McQueen, no, they start building in like 48 months. I think he said 2028 is when they'll start building. So we might take delivery by 29. See,
Ambulance is on the same kind of schedule.
yeah,
We're at least 2 years.
but everything is done and I'll have, in the consent agenda. In a couple of weeks just for final approval, so, all the money went in. I did a wire transfer for the first initial 744. I did a subsequent wire transfer for the balance, because it didn't check it off. It costs us a little money to do a wire transfer, from the bank, but it's definitely a ease of mind to know that it's done.
It's, you know, it's done.
So, that's all completed. Fire chief and assistant chief are aware of what's going on. And I've already started reporting that information to the new auditors too.
I suppose everybody will have plenty of questions.
The fire protection meeting.
Fire protection.
See how that one goes. All the money got used up. Well, it's all gambling proceeds. Except for that debt. So.
New business.
I'm gonna let Mike, do his thing first, because I know he's got a bolt. And I don't know how long it's gonna take.
You have a thing?
Huh?
You have a thing?
Yeah, just basketball. So there's been a request for the city to extend, water and sewer mains south on Carl Avenue over there, by Don's house. I don't need that.
That's what I gave them.
Okay, they all have
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
Looking at it, it's roughly 100 to 150 feet or so. That was just made at the end of last week. I talked to Caleb quick this morning via text and asked if they had some kind of current numbers to put out there. I don't know if you guys on short notice, I know.
We just kind of a rough local estimate, but $600 a foot would be a pretty decent starting point
Per line or
per foot.
Combined.
Everything.
For everything, but that's assuming
Service
you're
and
going,
main or just main?
just main, we're not talking
Okay.
his service line, we're just talking the main.
that'd be service line to the right area, but that's anticipating that you'd extend the road past the property so that that lot would have access.
Mhm.
And like a 30-foot gravel surface on there or something.
Well, there is already.
So,
No,
The gravel only about right to your garage and that's it.
Yeah, it kind of stops, well, yeah,
Yeah,
but there's all the way to the back of my property line, it's gravel.
it's just gotten drug up there a little bit. There's not actually like a gravel bed for a road anyways. Yeah,
yeah, that's kind of where we're at, and looking at that, we probably want to do 8-inch sewer just in case anybody else would want to hook up. Plus you kind of have to with standard, and then
well, and the problem there though is that it's 4-inch currently, isn't it? If I remember correctly,
going on Carl.
I think so.
This is
Give me just a second here.
We got 8.
you have inverts on there.
There was an.
4-inch on
invert,
this
not a rim,
exhibit.
so
And we didn't know how deep that structure was either.
It's not very deep, but maybe look at like. just-
Oh, no, I was wrong. You're correct. It's 8-inch sewer. Sorry, it's 4-inch water.
4-inch water.
Did you say it's 600 a foot for everything, water, sewer,
Yeah, it's just a rough number, but yeah,
but not including the road service?
That would be
Gravel.
gravel roads.
Oh,
I think I had like 8 inches of class 5 on the top or something like that. And then a couple of things like turf that would have been.
So super quick math, if it's 600, per foot, you run 100 feet, you're looking at $60,000.
Yeah.
When you anticipated like a couple hundred feet.
Yeah, I put in like somewhere 100 or something like that, 200 feet or something like that to go all the way to the, just based off of GIS. code.
And if you look at the parcels that are there. So if you guys are familiar with it at all, you got Don's house over there. The parcel that's wanting to do this is the next one to the south. There's one more parcel south of that that belongs to the church already. You go on the west side of our right of way up there, because it's platted, but there's no road. The west side, those two lots both actually belong to the long lot to the west of them. So I don't foresee anything ever going in up there. You go any further south than the church and you're down into swampland. Nothing's gonna go there. So if you guys do decide to do this, it's for one house and one house only.
And it's not even a house.
Well, there,
That's- he wants to build there.
he's talking about building something there.
What is that building currently?
It's a garage.
There's a garage there right
That's-
now. Yep. So,
You go to his lot line, or where do you go to? Do you go up to his building, or what do you do?
this is all kind of open for
It's fluid.
how the city wants to proceed with it. So you could go right to that line, in what is our right of way, you could go to there, you could go beyond there. If you look at 100 feet roughly, I think that's probably right about the property line from where they end currently, I would assume.
Yeah. that'd be-
So where my water main comes out, that's where the manholes you said was on that's where you kind of told me.
There's a manhole from what would be the northwest corner of your house. There's a manhole just to the northwest a little more.
Yeah, so from there to the back of my garage is only like 75 feet,
Okay, but the back of your garage, is that where the line is exactly right there?
like 10 feet.
See, and this is all, I haven't been out there with 100-foot tape. I can't scrape gravel, right now this time of year. This is just kind of a preliminary conversation. I told them that I would talk with you guys since we were having a meeting anyways, and see how you all are leaning. In my opinion, to do this, and I'm sure these two can chime in on that, if we're gonna do that, you need to put another manhole in at the end up there, because we gotta be able to flush the whole thing out. We're gonna need to put another hydrant in, that way the very dead end of it can be flushed out, so you gotta have those two things. We're gonna have to cut a bunch of trees down, make a road, this is all kind of,
How much, Mike?
well, they just said 600 a foot.
Yep.
Say 100 feet for
And
sure.
That's just a rough estimate for the
Does that
water
include
sewer and
manholes,
gravel road.
hydrants, and-
No,
We don't know if that doesn't include a manhole and stuff. I don't know. This is just super rough right away. 60,000 for sure, right there.
Would you, if you did it, Tim, would you make a loop on that other right of way that goes across to Oscar then?
Well, yeah, Caleb was just asking about that. That was gonna be a question I would have is, if you're going to consider an expense like this, do you anticipate Carl Avenue extending beyond that property?
That's.
No,
Because if you don't envision that extending, maybe you would be better off envisioning a service into that manhole structure for that one lot. If that's the only lot that's gonna be served,
Yeah,
it doesn't make a lot of sense to put utilities in for that one service. It's a lot of expense for very little. benefit.
that's where I was trying to go with this, but
are those two properties on the west side of Carl that are owned by the folks that own the very west property, west of town? Are those buildable
Well, the
They-
two are right there, them two are buildable.
on the west? They're buildable?
Yeah.
Okay,
They most likely would be.
and I'm just thinking foresight wise, if, I mean, right now, obviously, you know, it's not like that, but if there were an opportunity to have services to those other two lots, they would definitely make them more buildable and more suitable for whoever owns them to sell them and put a house there.
That first
It-
part of,
That it's just a main like this. The services, obviously, because of our assessment policy, would be to the extent of the owner, we would almost want to gain information from the other adjacent property owners of that right of way to find out if they are willing to accept part of the costs.
Will you have a petition process for your assessments, or how does that work?
I think so. I'll have to dig into
Or
the
what-
policy.
Oh,
the thing I was thinking too, I remember we,
All the property on.
so we are gonna assess for this?
I will consult the policy. I'm not gonna tell you yes right now, but I'm just thinking any improvements to any roads and the services are owned by the property owners. If any improvements are made, then yeah, you share the costs of those improvements. They would be tied to the property owners, regardless of this one person. So everybody has a voice, including the church, if they wanna accept the funding of it. Cause I think it would get directly. I mean, we'd fit the bill, we'd debt for it, but then we'd assess the adjacent property owners. So you'd have to almost have a public hearing to see if it's worth it. So it's not just gonna service one person. If we put the main in is what we probably have to tell them. And yes, it's a possibility you and Solomonson's would get assessed too, because it would be an improvement to your extension. Because of the manhole part.
And he only comes up for twice a year.
At this time, yes, yes.
Um,
I mean, if it was a development, right?
okay,
Then
so,
the person that owned it would be fitting all the bill and extending that to how it got split apart. To all the adjacent property owners. It's the same thing like we were talking about Liberty, that section on Liberty getting developed. All
This
the adjacent
resident-
property owners would take the ownership of it.
came to you,
Yep,
Came to me first and I gave him Mike's
Okay.
contact information.
So we have one request for one hookup. Do we wanna start a huge project for involvement that may not happen for decades? Or do we wanna get the Skywater and Super individually?
well, and the other aspect of that, where those lines end now, you know, quite honestly, in my opinion, I don't ever see anything else going on up there. I really don't. So the other option that there is that he connects to what's there. He has a longer service line. Right? It's definitely possible. That's gonna be on you guys, all of us, to make a decision. I'm guessing that the 60,000 number is kind of a low ballpark of. You're gonna be here for sure, but it's probably gonna go higher, you know, so. 70, 80,000, let's say 70. For one service line. How long is it going to take? To recoup that? Is it? Worth it to the city?
The other aspect to that is this person is coming from a different area, he's coming from a different state. Each governing entity has a different rules on who owns what, and I bet you he has no clue that. The property owner owns their service line,
And that's,
and it's up to them to fund for it to be improved.
I mean, he's gonna have cost into hooking up no matter what, wherever he puts this. Building out on his lot, he's on the hook to wherever the main is.
Yeah, he's gonna go back on the back.
The other,
East part of it.
and the other
As
side.
far away as he could be, basically.
The other thing that could come out of this is if he doesn't wanna do the service line, he could petition the city to have a variance and put in private well and septic.
if the city allows the.
If the
variance.
city allows it, but we've set a precedence by having a couple people at the end of end of a line. Up on Carl and Croswell to have their own,
Well, but if that's in a Duisma, then no.
It's really close to Wells.
I think he'd probably be in it right there,
yeah,
or real close to it.
really close to
Yeah, I
it.
wouldn't. Septic.
You wouldn't wanna do that.
Where was it? This is in the
Yeah, we'd
city.
have to have really good reason to say no on that one.
And then there's plenty of reasons.
With
With
that
that individual
one,
grinder
yeah.
station and bore a small force main in for not crazy amount of
But
money
even if
for a
we-
single resident.
Even if we extend this, he is responsible for the water and sewer out to the middle of the street. wherever the-
Right, absolutely.
Correct.
Yep,
Well,
so,
plus any assessment,
So the-
plus any assessment that would be.
Is there,
For the.
but see, that's, and I should note too, that per the conversation that I had, any sort of assessment to the property is going to be unreasonable to this individual.
Oh, they're expecting this hookup to be full sleeves.
Well, and that's why I said he
Yep.
probably doesn't understand our rules. It should be,
So
I
if
can
we,
spell that out.
if we went with this 100-foot extension for 60,000, would that get assessed just to him or?
No, it's gonna get access to everybody that owns property along the extension.
and that's
Along
where
the
the public
extension.
hearing comes in.
Mhm.
Which would be,
So Don would get assessed.
I mean, I got a no vote on it right now. I don't see a benefit to the rest of the street.
I don't see a benefit to the city in general myself.
And if he fights back, we'd need a public hearing to make sure everybody else within besides Don
so
that has hookup is present.
it would get assessed to Don, who's very generous and,
Give them water when he comes up. Give them electricity.
as well as the property to the west there.
Solomonson's,
Yep,
yep,
And then the red line kind of stops at the property line, so I guess it wouldn't get assessed to the.
well, and that red line was just
that
Christina
was just
throwing a
me
line
drawing
on
in,
it.
trying to figure out how long it went.
There's nothing else back there.
Yeah, there's nothing in the back there.
Is that a house or?
Then you have to read your assessment policy,
So they're already
because it may take a
Yes.
petition of 50% of the landowners or something like that.
Yes,
In order for it to be even considered.
So this property is already hooked up, so why
Yeah,
would they?
That's not.
Got a valve in
They're
there
hooked
hooked
up to what's there.
Like a,
Yeah.
just a plug somewhere out down the end of that forest.
I believe there's just a electric plug in the end of that
This could
forest.
just be a guess.
So,
How far, this could just be a guess on how far it even go. It might not even go this far.
Absolutely, we don't know exactly.
Yeah.
It's close because I know Don's water line is there and heads out that way, so I believe the map.
Well, I mean,
is
there's
pretty
more than
close.
one option for this resident landowner, correct? I mean, he's got a couple different choices.
Mhm.
I mean, I bear him no ill will. I'm just,
Well, I think he has two options,
he has two,
hook up to the existing system or nothing.
or
There
nothing.
is two options.
That is essentially it.
That's his options.
so he would have to trench up in the street and hook up to where
Mhm.
Don is hooked up.
Or you could bore it too, with small
bore it.
service line like that, you could bore it and just dig up in the street and connect it.
Yep.
very good.
But then the city
Well,
will-
that's
Do you
fine.
want me to communicate that with him or?
No, I told him I would call him back. So at this
Okay.
point, my understanding is that we're all kind of saying, we don't want to do this. Right?
At this time, I would say your city is not gonna fund the improvements and any improvements that are made unless they're only to him.
And I think
Would
exactly,
be everybody that's
Mhm.
connected to that line would get assessed and that's a
Right.
whole nother ball of wax.
And the people who are connected to it are already hooked up, so why would they want to be assessed?
Yeah, they're not gonna want to be assessed. They're
I
not
would
gonna want to
stress
pay
that.
for something that they already.
Have
Have.
permission to.
And additional property owners, if any future development happens, we can pursue it then, but
Mhm.
why anticipate something's gonna happen 20 years from now?
And if he did private services through the city right away, he would have to acquire an easement, I would
Yep.
think, through that right away.
Yes. Yes. When you do talk to him, Mike, will you gently explain to him the ownership?
Wait, you think I'm not gentle?
Yes. I will.
Right between the lines.
All right, that's, I only have one other very quick thing for you guys.
That's what he says.
Well, you know what's coming, come on. You know me, I haven't asked for anything in a while now, a month or so. I just wanted to give you guys a little heads up, or not a heads up, and an update and kind of see what you think. After that main break and we had talked about, having a hammer, I looked into it. I looked into one that would, fit basically on our mini excavator, and with the right plate, it'll work on the skid steer as well, so it's interchangeable for those two, one piece that'll work on either one. Price tag is about 10,500 on it. So just kind of curious as to what you guys think about that. Now, I should back up so that you remember the hammer. That's essentially frost chisel, you know, breaking through the tar, breaking through the frost, so that we can do what we do.
So the jackhammer,
Yes,
that
yeah.
fits on the end of your
Yep.
back, front end, or arm.
Is that with the adapter plate for the?
Yeah, that's the whole thing there, yep. Yeah, I thought the price was pretty fair myself. And then,
Who's your bid from?
that's from Cat,
Can you get a second one?
no. It's Cat attachment. We run Cat machinery. The other thing with that is that you can get a, essentially a jumping jack. You guys know what a jumping jack is, right? For packing, you can get basically a different bit for that hammer that'll do the same thing, so that, like when we did this over here that night, really cold that night, and our excavator, so once we got done, you know, getting the hole opened up and everything, by the time we got the repair and started filling it back up, our excavator was actually starting to gel up. Wasn't its fault, more kind of our fault. The last time it was used was in the fall, before the blend was on at the fuel pump, so it got filled, and, you know, anyways, long story short, without having something like that, you kind of get a compaction issue, where at that night, you know, we were trying to get through stuff, but that jumping jack basically just helps you that as you layer in, you can switch out easily, compact it so you don't get that fall down. But I just wanted to kind of put it out there and see what you guys were thinking. See if you think it's something that we should probably look more into, make happen. I should just
I'd
not.
love to tell you that you're never gonna have another frozen line, Mike.
I'd love to hear that. We all know that ain't true.
Well, and if you wouldn't have had that, it would have took you a lot longer to get that repaired.
Absolutely over there. Yep, we really used it well. So we had it for the senior center. We had it for that. We didn't have it for the school repair. And that was part of, I mean, we could have got that done a lot faster had we had that. What we ended up using was our demo saw. You guys all know what a demo saw is. We used that and then just started hammering and picking and hammering and picking. Because the alternative for us, you guys have seen it, I think you were here long enough. You know how long a 2-day fire goes to heat the road up so that I can dig. That's kind of the alternative. You don't really want to run a 2-day fire in front of the school. It's a little different on the gravel.
I've seen it before.
Yeah,
It's not something that I would be hanging my hat on.
right.
Well, even that, and just the man hours to do that, for the cleanup on that, you're better off. Just
Mhm.
And waste, time.
And it's, you know, it's a piece of equipment too that, to be frank, could sit for quite some time without being used. But when it's gotta get used, boy, is it handy, you know? And it's also a piece that, once we have, I don't see it needing to be replaced for many, many, many years, you know?
Do you have a thought on where you were gonna fund this from?
You know, with something like that, I think what I would do with it is I would probably break it down evenly. 3 parts between water, sewer, and streets.
Your water department can't fund it right now. We couldn't make the depreciation in 2024, so I would stay away from that fund. Streets, the small city streets, money has to be, can't be used for equipment. we may want to discuss that a little more deeper.
Yeah,
I'm a little worried about that.
I'm all for that. It's like I said, this was just a. Get it out, see what everyone thinks, and then Christina and I can work on kind of how to go about it and
Yeah.
how to do it.
I'm just a little cautious because we just increased our volume rates and we need to make some recoup in 601.
Well, and you know, there's a possibility that, you know. I can get a little creative on some stuff, pinch here and there and do things, you know,
And it's so early in the year, we don't know what's gonna come.
absolutely. There's something, you know, now that we have equipment that is capable of doing these things. Things that we've been slowly working toward. And quite honestly, a $10,000 attachment ain't much, you know? So. We'll look further into it than that, because it kind of sounds like, yeah, go ahead. Take a look, see what we can do, and we'll go from there.
We'll have plenty of use
Oh, it'll get more than enough.
until streets and all that other fun stuff get redone.
Yep, because I'm sure there's more coming. Okay, perfect. Thanks, guys.
We plan tonight.
Tonight is actually a grudge match game.
Kelly?
It's the sixth grade girls versus the fifth grade boys. The boys have been wanting to play the girls for a couple of years and they're finally doing it. So it's just kind of a fun game.
Good enough. I won't ask you who you're rooting for. Christina,
Yeah,
back to you.
so the first two items I've already completed. I was missing a couple of conflict of interest policies from board members. I got those at the beginning before we convened, so thank you. And then we just all bolted after our January meeting to have the actual policy signed. Oh, I just transposed those, I'm sorry. So that's all taken care of, so I appreciate that. That brings me down to C. You read the email provided by Councilmember Hamilton. I conferred with our city attorney in regards to this, and the council has a couple of options by statute. There's a 90-day absence rule. And it could be for anything, illness, whatever. At this time, Councilmember Hamilton is planning on returning. She's asking for basically a leave of absence so she can mend, if you will. Was ready to resign, and after we had a good heart-to-heart, and I found out she didn't really want to, I said, I think we have some options here, but we need to bring it to the rest of the board. She definitely wants to return, and she just needs some time to get through this hurdle that's been thrown at her this month. So what myself and the attorney would recommend is that we wait out the 90-day before the council considers opening it up to a temporary filling, unless the council believes they won't be able to meet this quorum, because all four of you guys should be here. And that would bring us into like August by Lori's expectations, could be sooner. We can also fill that spot temporarily by resolution, and if that person fills that spot, once Lori returns, that person could by resolution step down and Lori can come back. So we wouldn't really accept a resignation from her. By my conversation with her, it may even be shorter. But this needs to open up between board members to discuss, so. Feedback.
it's because she's technically under the 2 years. Is that why we can appoint someone interim or?
No, you can do it by the 90-day absence rule. But yes, that, if she were to resign, then yes, the term policy you just stated on would also apply and could be fulfilled, but she has full intention on returning. There's the difference.
Well, I think if we're not going to appoint somebody temporarily, we all have to leave here with a definite mandate that we need to communicate very well about attending future meetings, because we need a quorum. And I think if we could not have the possibility of a council meeting, or we wouldn't be able to have a meeting. So I think that's a big failure. So I know since I've been here, 2 work sessions have been canceled due to lack of a quorum.
Yeah, and that
I would want
so
to avoid
rarely
that.
happens.
But I always try to practice good communication. When I find that I missed 2 vacations, I always tell you, I email Max and Christina the week before, reminding them that I'll be there.
I mean, you may declare a vacancy, but it's not required. And that's by the nature of,
It puts us what, June, July, August,
yeah,
potentially?
so. This is typically when Lori, goes on vacation anyway.
Yeah.
She misses this work session in the February meeting. She has, the last few years. That's in anticipation. They did not, begrudge themselves that vacation, because when she comes back on the 10th, or when she comes back, with like this her surgery.
Okay.
So, yeah, as of the 17th, that's basically her getting prepared and getting what she needs to get done to get her life in order to start her healing in her process.
So then, I mean, technically, 3 is still a quorum.
Yeah. It's a quorum of what's present.
That's my biggest concern, is
Yeah.
that we're still doing it by the books that route. In case the coach here. Sometime in June or July,
Yeah.
can't,
That's what we need to have an honest opinion, but I mean, like I said, we can wait out the 90-day portion of it. That brings
And that-
us. That brings us to the middle of March, and we can readdress it at that work session then. We may have the good communication with Lori at that point to find out, what the next few months. And here, she's got about 45 to 60 days of treatment after her surgery.
and I don't know of anyone off the top of my head
That could fill her void, her absence, I mean.
that's gonna jump right in here and.
Yeah, I mean, you guys could be empty for 6 to 8 months anyway. So,
We were 4 for a long time.
you're right,
We were 3 for a long time.
you're right,
I remember that.
you're right. So we can do business with 4. 3 is not recommended. But we can do business with 4. We can do business with 3, but I prefer not to. But it has happened. Very, very seldom.
Yeah, I think the key words in this 90-day rule are the council may by resolution declare a vacancy.
Correct,
We don't have to.
that is correct.
However, when they return, it's the council shall by resolution remove the temporary office holder and restore the original office.
And what, Lango said is, the statute provides the council may declare the vacancy, it's not required. The council may want to just play this one by ear. See how it goes, and she may be gone for less time, or she may decide she doesn't want to come back. Honestly, I don't think that's gonna happen, because her intention was to put in her resignation, and when I spoke with her, she's like, I really don't want to leave. She has full intention on coming back. The council doesn't need to declare a vacancy unless they want to fill the seat.
Say we play by.
Wait 90 days and go from there.
We'll revisit this in April.
And we should all practice good communication if somebody's not planning on attending. I'd like the rest of us to be notified.
Okay.
Because we all have to double sure to be here.
Yep.
If I'm hypothetically thinking, geez, I don't know if I can make it, and I get an email or a call saying so-and-so is not gonna be there, I'm gonna do everything I can to make it.
The good thing is it's early in the year. We're not gonna start getting like uber busy until, you know, summer, spring,
Next month.
quarter one isn't too bad.
Yep.
Okay.
So you're saying 3 is a quorum?
Technically speaking.
We can have a meeting with 3.
We can have a meeting with Ray.
But it's not,
We can
yeah.
Yeah.
We know what the definition of a quorum is,
Get the definition out there.
just pointing that out.
The last thing I added to new business is I did confirm with the fire chief, we will be having a fire protection meeting at the beginning of the year. That's required by the contract on February 20th, which is a Thursday, and that'll be at 6 p.m. So all the packets got mailed today. We'll review 24 expenditures, if any changes to the 25 budget, which there was none, incidences through 24, and any new business at that meeting. And all of the towns and cities were invoiced for their 25 contract price. In that.
One last thing, well, I'm still thinking of it for about Lori. Do we replace her on any committees temporarily, or?
So she did send when she sent the email, she sent it to the Kichigami, so Melissa Wheatley got it, as well as Kelly. Both those parties understand and are willing to wait until she comes back. So on that side, she's fine. The only other active committee she's really done on, except for library at this time.
And
So
she's vice mayor?
she is vice mayor, you're right, that's a good point. You probably want to change that on February 10th to
Yes.
another board member.
You guys want to flip for it?
Is it my turn to read?
It's your turn. Your turn. You're a heartbeat away from there.
Okay, so we're changing it back to Nick. Okay, well, that's great. Yes, good point. Thank you, Max. Okay, I will put that on the February 10th agenda to update that.
Just in case.
Just in
Just in case these states don't make it here.
Or you get pneumonia.
Yeah, there you go.
COVID, yeah.
Or it's happening.
Yeah, well, it could happen.
Good point.
Yeah, that was a good point on the committees. Yeah. Yeah, I
I was gonna say something.
don't think Kichigami has a meeting now until April.
Well, with what the building going on or potentially going to happen over there.
Yep.
That's what their main focus was anyways, for having all the meetings.
Yeah.
So,
And if they have a meeting that they would like somebody out, I think one of us could fill in pretty locally, and I wouldn't have a problem.
I will keep you guys abreast if that happens.
Anything else?
Second that.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned. Thank you.
I don't know if we can make it either. Daniel's got a birthday party in Bemidji. I'm like, how's this working out? We can Bemidji for the birthday party, and I got a phone. Lori's gone.